Welcome back to another episode of the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, Strength and Speed owner, and Mud Gear Hannibal Race Pro, Evan Preparis. I have a guest with me joining me on the line, another one of my teammates, Amy Pajcic. Say hi.
Hello, everybody.
We're going to jump right into today's episode. So one, we're going to be catching up with Amy Magic Pajcic, and we're also going to be talking about The Sponsored Athlete, my new book that Amy wrote the forward to. So let's start off with you, Amy. What have you been up to the last year? I haven't seen you around that much on the OCR circuit.
Yeah, I did just a local race. There were a few others I was planning on, but they didn't pan out. But I've really gotten into rock climbing a lot more. I feel like I got a little, I don't want to say discouraged, but a lot of the race companies that I've really enjoyed either downsized or closed.
Yeah.
And a lot of the big series races I'm not as excited about. So then I guess rock climbing's kind of been my new thing. Or not really new, but instead of my time racing, I've been doing a lot of rock climbing.
Yeah, you
And then
ratchet up. I mean, you've been involved in the sport since, when was your first year? 2012, 2013?
I think it was 2012.
Yeah.
I did my first one in 2012, and then 2013 I did World's Toughest, and then 2014 was the first OCR Worlds. Yeah, it's been a
Side note,
minute.
I'm going to brag for you for a second. You were on the podium of World's Toughest in 2013, and then the podium of OCRWC in 2014, and you were the only woman to do that up until Chris Roglowski. So you held that title, I believe, by yourself for a very long time. I guess Lindsay Webster did it, but she was on the team podium for World's Toughest. I think that's
It did make
accurate.
me feel pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the two biggest races in my opinion. I know Spartan race, but people who are Spartans would also argue that's probably one of the biggest as well. But I know we run in circles that care more about World's Toughest and OCRWC than
Yes.
Spartan.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So took a little bit of a step back, and you have been around for a while, so things change. So yeah, sometimes the brands you love leave, and then sometimes it's not super interested in finding a new one, even though there are some new ones out there that are doing pretty good, like Mythic Race and Hazelwood. What do you got planned for 2024? Is this the end of OCR Magic Pajcic, or are we gonna still get?
I'm sure I'll still do some local races at least, but I don't know that I'll travel too much for them. But I'll definitely keep up with the local ones.
Yeah. Okay. Any plans for Ninja Warrior? You did 6 seasons,
I
made
did.
it to the finals once, I believe, which is pretty huge.
Yeah, just the ones that made it to the finals, but no, I don't think I'm gonna be doing that anymore either.
Okay.
I feel lame and old saying that, but no.
Well, if anyone who's not tracking, they filmed season 15 and 16 back to back. So I don't even think there's an application period coming up for 2024. So
I haven't even heard that. I knew they filmed the two back to back, but I guess you're right. I haven't heard any talk about it recently.
yeah, they haven't released season 16 yet, which has Calvin Tran trains at Modus Ninjas, one of our friends,
Mm-hmm.
and then Jay Flores, our former teammate
Yeah.
or current teammate, I should say. Um, yeah, his episode hasn't aired yet too either. So I have no idea how either one of them did. So. All right, let's talk a little bit about the sponsored athlete. So I sent you. So for those of you who don't know, Amy has proofread a lot of my books for out of her own kindness. So I really do appreciate that, and made some good corrections there. I sent you an advanced copy of the sponsored athlete. It's about 90 pages. You read through it. Give me some of your initial thoughts and share it with the audience here.
It was very insightful, and I guess this side of having worked with you for so long, like now, of course, like it makes sense, but like before I really met you and knew you and was part of the team, I like tried to reach out a few times myself, but I didn't really have that much success.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'd actually done pretty well racing, and I wasn't having success because I wasn't, I guess, going at it appropriately.
Yeah.
And having seen everything that you do and all the sponsors that you've gotten for the teams, like now it makes a lot of sense. But then seeing it spelled out in the book, like it's pretty concise for all the info that's in there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say it's like idiot proof, but it is like fairly idiot proof to follow. Like, okay, anybody can do this. You just have to, go through these steps, and anybody can do it. So it's very practicable, and nothing like that exists yet. So
Yeah. So when I did an initial Google search for and like an Amazon search for like book on becoming a sponsored athlete, I couldn't find anything. Um, I searched around nothing, and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll write the book. And I think since then there's been like one or two that are now pop up on my search. But I have not read them. I have not looked into them. I don't know what they say. I don't know if they give similar advice. I don't know if they give different advice. Um, the one thing I really wanted to get across in the book is, I think there's the current model for success. I feel like for most people is they look at Instagram or TikTok or YouTube and they're like, all right, well, I get 1 million followers, and then YouTube or whatever company just pays me money to exist.
mhm.
And it's just not very easy. And it
No.
requires a ton of work. Um,
Mhm.
I did actually put some tips in there for like gaining followers towards the end of the book, which was a fairly late edition. Because one of my friends that I had met through Tiga Tactics, that martial arts company that I helped write for and an instructor for, he had grown his, I think, TikTok following and his Instagram following to like thousands of people, like tens, I think like over 10, tens of thousands of people in like a couple of weeks using the
Okay.
tips in the back of the book. It does require effort, and that requires a lot of time and stuff I was not interested in doing. So I have not actually tried any of that. But I mean, he showed me his followers, and I was like, oh, and it made sense. It all has to do with like getting people to rewatch your video a whole bunch of times. And one of the ways
Mhm.
he does that is like he packs a ton of information into like a 10 or 15-second video. So you have no
Uh-huh.
choice but to rewatch it like 4 or 5 times if you want the information. You're like, that's so clever.
And
So
it
the
totally makes sense the number of times that I've had to do that for things I've been looking for. It's like, wow, that's genius.
yeah. Yeah, once someone says it, you're like, "Oh, I've fallen for that
Yep.
repeatedly." So, I think it works really well with like so I watch a lot of jujitsu stuff, and I do that. I'll save stuff because they'll show a move once and they'll show it really fast. And you're like, "Oh, well, I got to
Mhm.
save that now because I got to rewatch it." Um so I think we can do it with OCR too, but I just haven't gone through the effort of like, you know we tried to do for our team page, we tried to do more long form content, which is available on YouTube and is available on our Facebook page still, where it's like, here's a 3-minute video explaining how to do this obstacle. And I guess I'm old because I like the longer videos.
Yeah.
I think newer generation wants that you have my attention for 10 to 30 seconds at most, but
Uh-huh.
I don't know. So Um, anything that kind of jumped out at you or surprised you? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit already, but in the book.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of I was not surprised, but I guess re-emphasizing the fact that it's like reach out to a couple companies like the ones that where you said you tried like so many and you got shut down or got no answers from so many, but then the fact that you just kept going at it and then had so much success with it for that reason.
Yeah, yeah. So at the end of the day, honestly, it's like a numbers game. Um, and I've been shot down by companies so many times. I literally can't count. You know, every year I spend basically between December and January, which is why I released the book now, because now is the time to start reaching out to companies because they're going to be, looking for their plan for 2024. That's kind of why I released it now. And I'd be like, all right, here's a topic. Here's something we're interested in as a team. Let me find companies that support that. Let me start reaching out to them. And my favorite success story actually is Hylete, because I reached out to them, I think 3 or 4 years in a row, and they kept telling me no. And then after like the fourth year, I was like, "Hey, it's me again. I still want you to sponsor the team." And they finally broke, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, it worked."
That's awesome. I didn't
So
realize that. That's awesome.
yeah, and then they supported us for like 3 or 4. I think it was like 3 or 4 years. They were one of my favorite sponsors for the team.
Yeah. I think they were with the team until I think wasn't it until they kind of revamped and it looked like they were closing for a while, but it sounds like they're open again. So
Yeah, so they shut down completely for, I don't know, it was about a year, I think. And then was it Jay Flores messaged our little team chat the other day and was like, I guess Hylete's back. So yeah,
yeah.
they just popped up again with again, I don't know the backstory. Maybe someone came in and bought the followers, the brand, the excess stock or
Mhm.
whatever. But it does look like they are back, so they will be hearing from me for a, I don't know, ninth time or something. Yeah, and
Okay.
a lot of the stuff I learned through trial and error. I I used stuff I knew about talking to people in the military, and I just started. Well, let me try this. Let me try this, and that's honestly what a lot of it was. So, like, again, there's a saying in martial arts, right? The master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried, and I think
Uh-huh.
I think that applies to I think that applies to almost everything in life, right? I think that applies to
Yeah.
obstacle course racing, ninja, right? I mean, how many
Mhm.
times have you got had an obstacle that you just couldn't get through,
Oh my gosh, so many times.
right? I mean, rock climbing, right? And you just
Yep. Oh yeah, that's if you're not feeling, you're not trying hard enough, right?
right, right. Um, you just kind of like continue to try until eventually it works, and
Mhm.
I think everyone kind of knows that on some level, but
Yeah.
they don't really like you you got to go through it a couple times to really understand what that means, right? Like your the level of dedication has to be so deep and so long that people around you are like, you're not getting anywhere. Like
Yeah.
I think it's time to switch to something else, and you're like, no, and then that's when you break
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, even before when I was trying to get sponsors on my own, I like emailed a few of them and like had like a couple like, oh, give me something like small, but then um I kept getting shut down. I was like, oh, I guess I can't get this. I'm just, I'm
yeah,
not Lindsay Webster, but then here you are, just I just didn't try enough, and I guess I didn't apply that same concept to other areas of my life, like we're outside of athletics, but
yeah. And I do touch on that in the back of the book. Common traits of athletes that are surprising. I can't remember the exact title I use, but one of them has to do with people being really good at fitness and then being like, well, if it doesn't have anything to do with fitness, I'm not really interested in trying.
yeah,
So,
shows like we're
um,
like the laziest active people around.
yeah, yeah. And like we were talking about, you're someone um with a resume that's insanely deep, right? Like a ton of podiums, almost every race you show up to, I feel like you're on the podium. The
Yeah.
OCR World Championship podium, the world's toughest podium, right? So like you had the resume going in,
Mhm.
and we're still having a little bit of trouble. But
I just didn't have the know-how.
yeah, so yeah, and that this the things in the book are all the stuff I use to get team sponsors and all the stuff I've used to get personal sponsors. I tend to focus more on the team sponsors than my personal ones, just because I feel like for me personally, there's a couple of brands I can support as an individual, but I feel like as a team, we can pick up each other's slack when one of us is racing and one of us is not, and as a team,
Hmm.
I feel like we can promote more brands than like just me by myself. So
Yeah. And then even the way you talk in the book about the different updates you give and how you basically put a lot of info out there that supports the sponsors so it's like a no-brainer for them to keep sponsoring us because
yeah,
we provide or you provide the info for them um and all of the social media the advertisement basically for them.
right, right. Yeah, I listed as fire and forget, right? So the idea is when a
Yep.
sponsor brings the team on or myself on, I want them to never have to do anything again besides like occasionally send me product or send me whatever the deal was, money, etc. Which side note, getting product is tends to be a lot easier than getting money because
Hmm.
it doesn't cost the brand as much to give the product. It costs them. It's a direct negative balance, right? When they give you money,
Yeah.
doesn't mean we haven't gotten both in the past, but sustainable sponsorships tend to be more product focused than monetary focused. And yeah, like you said, I basically send out updates every quarter, and so they can just check their email once a quarter from me, and they're like, oh yeah, the stuff we sent this guy back in January, he's still doing stuff, and let them let them know what the team is doing. Obviously, the logo goes on our website, goes on our jerseys and stuff like that. So I try to make it as easy as possible, and then yeah, like you said, at the end of the year when it's time to renew, it's like, well, this I know this guy delivers, I know his team delivers. Let's keep them on for another year and see where it goes. So Yeah, it's good. It was a good project. Probably my last book I'm gonna write on obstacle course racing, or really that like touches on the obstacle course racing world. I've got some other self-defense ish martial arts stuff focused books coming a little bit later. So one of them's actually written already, and then two of them I have ideas for that I haven't actually sat down and started typing. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, and I'm hoping to kind of bridge some of the my next book hopefully will bridge those two worlds a little bit. So it's kind of like a self-defense guide for essentially runners is what it is.
Yeah,
So
you have my interest.
yeah. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out on Tiga Tactics. That again, that brand I've been being a coach for and an instructor for, and I've got a whole bunch of articles coming out for them in 2024. So you're gonna want to check out tigatactics.com. And obviously I'll be sharing those to my social media pages and sharing those around. But I really liked their logical mindset for self defense. Right, I think when you start diving into the martial arts world, sometimes it gets really I don't know what the word. The advice is sometimes the advice is not good. Right, they're like it's just not good advice. It's like, oh, well, you gotta you if someone's starting something, you gotta hit them first, and you're like, well, I mean, there may be a time for that, but there's all like majority of times you de-escalate, you move out of the area, and
Right.
you let your ego take a hit, especially as a male, right? Um, as a female, it changed a little bit, right? Because typically the person will be larger and stronger,
Yeah,
but not always, not always.
I would
It's gonna be
definitely be interested in that book. I always
yeah,
just hope that I can run faster or climb further than they can, or
yeah.
if they're just pitching it
Besides,
or trying to get a girl because they don't think they can fight back. But yeah, I would
which is
definitely be interested in the book.
which is why I do think obstacle course racing is the ultimate um, self defense sport besides
Uh-huh.
like learning some like basic striking and a couple of grappling things. To me, obstacle
Hmm.
course racing is the best, right? Because you have endurance,
Hmm.
because most OCRs are 5K ish or longer,
Yeah.
um, but they also have some short stuff. So you're used to doing like quick bursts of energy back to sustained running, right? So it's
Hmm.
good for getting out of the area. You're used to climbing over things like fences and walls and jumping over cars, right? I mean, City Challenge has
Yeah.
cars
It's very
in the
obstacle, yeah.
OCRWC had cars in the race, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm a big advocate of OCR for as a self defense related sport.
We've been training for real life.
That's right. That's right. I stand by OCR is the true functional fitness. I know like High Rocks uses that term and CrossFit uses that term and DecaFit uses that term, but I think OCR is the true functional fitness to me.
I agree. I think that's why I stuck with it so long, why I loved it so much.
Yeah, and I really like the training variety, right? So you can train. You have to train obviously some cardio, but then you can go heavy on the obstacles and you go or heavy on the weight training, and then
Hmm.
as long as you're mixing in a little bit of everything, it provides you like a really nice, well-rounded athlete.
Yeah, I like the well-roundedness of it, and I feel like I get bored doing the same thing too much, so it mixes it up so much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you made it. Let's see, you've done 12, 13 years of it at this point. So that's
Yeah,
a that's a pretty good chunk. That's a pretty good chunk of like your life as a
I
human
know it's
being.
crazy.
Like even if you live to 80, right? Like that's still like
Yeah,
that's still a good chunk of your life. So
it's so crazy. Even before that, if you would have told me what I would be doing in the future, I'd be like, nah, there's no way.
yeah, same. When I did my first World's Toughest, I remember, and this is in my biography because I specifically remember it being on a downhill at Vegas and being like, man, I've been running for 4 hours. I was like, this is terrible. Like, you know what? It's a bucket list item. This is the only time I'll ever do World's Toughest. I'm just gonna suck it up and power through, and it'll be fine. And here we are, over a decade later. Yeah. So
Once and done. Uh-huh.
yeah, I think I am. I think I am. I'm probably gonna switch a team next year though. So stay. I feel like World's Toughest has taken quite a toll at this point. But
Yeah, I can imagine doing it that I've only done it, I've still only done it a few times, but I don't know, it's definitely something special.
yeah, highly recommend For those of you who, I feel like that's, if as an OCR person, I feel like that's got to be a bucket list race,
Oh
right?
yeah,
That
you
and
gotta do at least one.
OCRWC and World's Toughest are bucket list races, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Again, I'm sure there are some people who would say Spartan World Championship as well, but I don't know. The allure hasn't pulled me in yet.
Same. I haven't done one.
Yeah. Dude, I could be sold on the trifecta world championship because it's in Greece. I could be
Yeah,
sold on
oh, there
that.
you go. Excuse to go to Greece.
Yeah. But the problem with trifecta world championships is always like the week before world's toughest, right? So I'd have to not do world's toughest one year
Hmm.
or do world's toughest and not really care much about my results.
Back to back.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. All right. 2024. Any big rock climbing goals or anything? Do you have like let's dive a little bit deeper into your rock climbing, right? So you're doing primarily indoor, primarily outdoor, mix of both, using one to
Um,
train for the other.
yes. So I do a lot of indoor, mostly to train for outdoors. This past year, I got my first 12D and then my first two 13As and then my first 13B. So I had kind of a quick acceleration in my progress outdoors. That was pretty cool. Um, so I would definitely want to try some harder routes this coming year. I haven't done much outdoor bouldering. So I'm kind of getting intrigued to do some more of that. Um, let's see, we're mostly climbing in the Red River Gorge, but we are going to Puerto Rico for a week and they do have rock climbing there, so of course we'll climb there. Just for vacation, but it'll be fun. Um,
Did you
I'm
pick
probably
Puerto Rico because of the destination or because of the rock climbing, and then it's like also a good destination?
Actually, it's because my partner's parents are going there. So we're gonna kind of join them for vacation, and we're like, oh
Okay,
look, there's
nice,
also rock climbing. But
nice,
actually, we were talking about going to Greece just to go rock climbing in Kalymnos, or like Spain or something. So someday we'll do that.
nice, nice,
But we've been doing a week at the Red River Gorge in the fall. So we'll probably do that again. And
nice.
I'm probably actually going to do rim to rim to rim of the Grand Canyon again next November. I have another friend who wants to do it, so I'll probably do it with her.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, that was the coolest experience.
yeah.
It
Tell
was
people first of all, tell people. I think, but tell people what it is first, and then tell a little bit more about the actual experience.
okay. So there's the south rim of the Grand Canyon and the north rim, and it's roughly, depending on which route you take, like 22 to 24 miles one way across. So a lot of people will like take a bus to the north rim and like hike one way, or they'll and like camp along the way or whatnot. But some of the runners will go rim from the south rim to the north rim and then back to the south rim in the same day. So that's kind of what we're talking about. So I did it last December, actually almost exactly a year ago, with my friend Liz. And we started at the south rim. Both our partners went with us, so they were able to kind of drop us off at the South Kaibab trailhead, which is the shorter route down. It's I think 2 miles shorter, but it's a lot steeper. So we definitely didn't want to come back up that way.
Mm.
Um, anyway, but we planned it so we got halfway down at sunrise, and it was like the most stunning view experience ever. You're just like in the canyon, and the whole canyon is lighting up, and there's like so many different shades of like blues and purples and oranges, and it was just absolutely beautiful.
Wild.
But then
What's it like at the? We went there, but I don't know how far down we went. We probably I don't know. We walked for like an hour and then we took it at whatever 2 hours to come back
Mhm.
up. Um, what's it like at the bottom? Like because you it when you I know when I was there, it looks fake. Like your brain can't comprehend how deep and how wide it
Mhm.
is. You're like, am I looking at a green sea? Like what am I looking at? So what?
Yeah,
How like when you're on the bottom? Does it? I guess like how wide across is it at the bottom?
it is
Um,
actually pretty wide. And there's almost like there's kind of a almost like two tiers, like big tiers to it.
okay.
Um, See, the first chunk you're going down, and then it kind of levels off for a little bit, and then it drops off again. Even when you're at the bottom looking up, you're just seeing like the top of that bottom drop off. So you're not really seeing the whole extent. so even for a lot of it, I don't feel like really have a good grasp of how deep it is. But I know the South Rim, I think the South Kaibab Trail started at 7-ish thousand feet elevation, and it was also like 15 degrees when we started. Um, but by the time you drop down, I think it was like 3 degrees Fahrenheit for every 1,000 feet or something like that.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
that it went up. I did so much planning for this and I had it all written down. It's not all fresh in my brain now, but yeah, so like by the time we got a mile in, we're like shredding clothes. Like we got really warm really quick. So in retrospect, I think I would have been a little colder to start with to not have to carry as much clothing.
Hmm.
But it warmed up pretty quick. So yeah, by the time we were at the bottom, the sun had come up. I think it was like 50s. So like the hottest it got was in the 50s all day, which is actually perfect because once it gets above 55 or 60 is when all the rattlesnakes come out. So we didn't have to worry about snakes.
That's
So that was
good.
good. Oh, but the crows were like super aggressive as far as trying to steal your food. Um, so you go down and then we met up with this lady who was hiking and she hikes there several times. So I feel like she should know better by this point. But she's like, oh, just I'm gonna go to the bathroom, just watch my pack. And she just walks away, and like the minute she turns around, a crow like swoops down and takes her bag of snacks out of her pack and flies
Oh my.
off. That was kind of amusing on our end. It sucks for her, but no, it was really cool. So
And so,
then,
is it all
go ahead.
self-supported? Is there like, I mean,
Yeah, so it's all self-supported. There are some water stops. So Phantom Ranch has water year round. And like so we have to go on the park website and see for what time of year you're going, what water stops are open. Oh, on that note too, I think it's beyond October. All the facilities at the North Rim are closed. And then I think sometime in November, the road to the North Rim closed. So at the point that we were doing it, um, you couldn't even drive to the North Rim. So once you go out there, you have to come back. There's no, I guess, plan B except for calling in an emergency helicopter.
hmm,
Um, Actually, I think on the website it's like $20,000 or something like that for emergency helicopter ride out, and then like $5,000 for an emergency mule ride out. That's like your only option.
jeez, that's
But
crazy.
it was such a cool experience. Definitely trained for it, but I highly recommend doing it.
And how long? What was your total time?
I think it took us like 19 hours or something, so we were definitely not fast. But we took our time, we took pictures, we, had like a picnic breakfast at Phantom Ranch. And
Hmm,
then it definitely, by the end, it was definitely a suffer fest.
hmm.
But yeah, so I keep like jumping around, sorry. But yes, we started 7,000 feet-ish at the South Kaibab trailhead. And then we go down to the bottom. We crossed the river over a bridge. I think that one went over the Black Bridge, and then Phantom Ranch is right on the other side. And then Liz and I, our partners, went down to Phantom with us, and then they took the Bright Angel Trail back up, which is the way that we were going to go up on our way back. Um, so they at least took some of our clothes back, but otherwise it was pretty well self-supported. We had to carry all of our food, all of our like electrolytes. The A lot of the water stops were closed that time of year, also because of the weather.
Hmm.
Um, they would freeze, the water lines would freeze higher up. So we had like water filters and water purifying tablets and whatnot. Um, we actually got pretty lucky as far as there was more open than was supposed to be open. So we really didn't run into water issues. But we specifically chose that time of year because it was cool enough at the bottom that we wouldn't get too hot or hopefully too dehydrated from the sun too.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And then yeah, so then you go across and it's but I think from the South Kaibab to the North Rim is like 22 miles. And the North Rim is at 8,000 feet elevation. Um, it was really cool. That was super remote on the other side. It's like on the south side, there were quite a few hikers that we ran into. Some people doing day hikes. some people overnighting at Phantom Ranch, but on the north side, it was so much more quiet and it was just us. But it was so beautiful. And you really got like some super steep orange rock on the north rim. And I've got yeah, the south rim and north rim. There's definitely snow and ice at the tops. We needed like the micro spikes, but it wasn't too bad. We weren't in like feet of snow or anything.
Nice.
And
Cool.
then, oh god,
Oh, there go.
sorry, I'm just rambling now. So on the descent, we made it back. I think like a third of the way back before dark hit. And then once it got dark, it was kind of just with a headlamp trudging, and then we didn't really get to see the scenery going up Bright Angel. But our partners took pictures. So we had a lot of at least got to see it. But it was a lot of following switchbacks forever in the dark, watching our watch and be like, I don't know how accurate this is. We should have hit this checkpoint by now. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
such
I
a
mean, I
cool
don't have
experience.
that experience, but from doing land navigation at night for the military, yeah, you're like, oh, we must be there by now, and it's been like 30 seconds. That's why.
Right.
That's why when I used to do land navigation for the military, I would keep a stopwatch in addition to my pace count to kind of
Uh,
as a backup, because sometimes I'd lose my pace count, and then
uh,
I'd look at my watch and be like, okay, well I know it takes about X many minutes to walk a kilometer. So if I'm not near that time, then in my pace, there's no way I magically move twice the speed. So I tend to walk at a consistent pace. But
yeah.
I mean, I love creating your own adventures and doing
Yep.
crazy long things. So I highly approve. And I can't remember if I ever told you this one. I did have a plan at one point of doing an ultra thing in Ohio.
What?
Did I? Yeah. So it was, and I can't remember if I reached out and told you about it because
I
I
don't
was
think
like,
so.
I was gonna drag you with me, because you live in Ohio, and I was like, well,
Yeah.
she's obviously will base out of like her place and like her friends or whatever. I found something. I can't remember if it was a running magazine or something. Or where it was, but like Kentucky has like the Bourbon Trail.
Yeah.
Well, in Ohio, apparently there's a whole bunch of like local donut shops.
Oh man.
And
No, you did not tell me about
I did
this.
not tell you about this.
No.
So there's a way you can run. It's something like 45 miles, and basically hit all the donut shops.
That's awesome.
And but it was so I actually went through the process of like actually planning it out, fairly in depth because it becomes really hard because some of them are not open on Sundays. So you
Oh.
have to like figure, and then their hours. It's not like a 24-hour donut shop, right? So you got to like figure
Uh-huh.
out when you hit certain ones, and some of them you essentially have to leave and start running before it opens, so you get there when it
Uh-huh.
opens and go from there. So I do not plan on doing the donut trail. Um, if anyone wants the plan, I can probably find it on my hard drive someplace. But it was, I think it was something like 50 miles of running, maybe a little bit more, 60 miles over 2 days. And the goal is, well, obviously would be to like eat a donut every one. So you'd also probably feel sick by the end. But
There you go, pick the right donut.
yeah, maybe go switch to Munchkins or something or whatever. But yeah,
There
it's
you
all
go.
local donut places. But yeah, you were
That's fun.
you didn't know that, but you were about to be drugged with me. I was about to be like, well, Amy's a good runner. She's coming with me.
If you're gonna twist my arm.
um, all right. Let's start wrapping it up. Any other final shout outs you want to give? Thoughts, etc.
A big shout out to you for all the work you do for our team for getting us all the sponsors. Um, and I guess on that note too, I'll take
Yeah.
this time to, I guess, say that I'm stepping down from my spot on the pro team. It's been fantastic. It's been such a cool experience, just traveling and racing and meeting so many cool people. But yeah, with time and everything, I'm not racing as much, so it doesn't make sense for me to stay on the pro team.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna miss you guys.
Yeah. I don't know if you realize me and you were the last two original members.
Oh, you're right.
So,
Aw.
yeah. So it's a little sad. You're the last original female member. I'm the last original male member.
Aw.
Um, so we'll see. At some point I might switch to like a more managerial role. We'll see. We'll see I'm still racing on the team for 2024, and then 2025 again. We'll kind of reassess, and I might just help manage some of it, and then step back myself. So a lot of young new bloods coming in. They're fast and they're
Yep.
strong.
Yeah.
Uh, and again, we're not that old, but I will say at Ninja Warrior, I do feel that old. Like
Hmm.
when we filmed the last couple of years, I was like, what is going? I mean, these kids are still in high school, like they have to go to school in between filming, right? And then they're like, oh, cool, I'm just gonna go over here and do one-handed laches. And you're like, what in the? Like, you doing that one-handed? I was like, that's like
Right.
almost my Mac distance two-handed. So
Right.
it
It's
and
insane.
you can see even the ones who've been on the show for a couple of years, they'll be like, man, these kids, I can't.
Yeah.
Like they're starting to some of them get discouraged too. Because I talked to some of
It does
them who
make
said
you
they were
wonder. Sorry.
go for it.
It
I
does
talked to
make you
someone who
wonder,
said
like,
it was their last year. Yeah, go.
sorry. It does make you wonder, like, if this would have been around earlier and we would have started younger, like, how good would we have gotten?
That's true. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're the young kids are built from the ground up for Ninja, and
Yeah.
they
Where we were
what
like already adults and we're like, hey, this looks fun.
right. Yeah, let me try to force my post pubescent body who has built muscle for doing other things not related to Ninja and try to force it to fly through the air. Yeah.
Mhm.
It makes a difference. It makes a difference. So, all right. Well, we'll miss you, obviously.
You guys too.
Anytime you do some crazy stuff, if you decide to take on the donut trail, let me know, and
All
I
right.
I will probably send you by yourself, but you can report back on how it was, and we can catch up with you at a later time. So I think that's about it. Again, pick up the Sponsored Athlete. The book is on Amazon and it is on my website. So you can buy hard copies off my website and or hard copies off Amazon. Although try to buy them off my website because I get a better cut of the cost of the profit rather. Or if you prefer digital, you can do digital through Amazon. Download it directly to your Kindle. Start reading. And again, I highly recommend doing it sooner rather than later. Get that knowledge in your head. Start going through the step-by-step process I put in the book. I also use a similar step-by-step process for On Endurance, the book about maximizing endurance based off lessons from the Strength and Speed podcast. So now both of them are written in a very similar fashion, straight to the point, less than 100 pages, step by step. Don't put a lot of fluff in there. It's basically like, here's the information, here's what you need to do, go execute, and start working hard. So,
It really is. It's really good info quickly without all the extra fluff. So it was a quick read, but very insightful.
and did we say it? You wrote the forward. Did we say that yet? I can't remember
Oh
if we
yeah,
said it.
I don't remember.
You wrote the forward to the book, so you get to read it. The first page you open will be Amy's words, not mine. This is kind of cool. And she's not in the cover, but she is. She was there when that picture was taken on the cover. Although you are on the cover for On Endurance. You're on the cover with me, you, and Tim running through the
Neither
snow at
one.
Erio
Neither
Sierra
one
Valley.
cover shot. No.
So, all right, we're gonna get going. Thanks again, Amy, for coming on,
Of course.
and hopefully we'll see you make special appearances at a couple of OCRs still.
I'll be around.
All right, good talking to you.
See ya.